In building your home for happiness, the first step is to lay the foundation by taking ownership of your happiness. That means first believing that you can be happy, then becoming aware of the habits that are standing in your way, and finally, gently and persistently shifting to new habits of thinking, feeling, and acting that will serve you better. When you are proactive and take total responsibility for your happiness, you put yourself in the driver's seat of your life. Today I will be talking about the pillar of the mind. Our minds are made up of our thoughts, beliefs, and self-talk, and is always on. According to scientists, we have about 60,000 thoughts a day, meaning one thought per second during every waking hour. It's no wonder we are so tired at the end of the day. Even more startling is that of those 60,000 thoughts, 95% are the same thoughts you had yesterday, and the day before, and the day before that. For the average person, 80% of those habitual thoughts are negative. The good news is, to keep the thousands of negative thoughts we have each day from dragging us down is we don't have to try to get rid of them. There's a simpler way. The secret is to accept an astonishing fact. Your thoughts aren't always true. Sounds simple, but it requires a major shift in our perspective. We are so accustomed to believing our thoughts are true and automatically reacting to them that we are not even aware we are doing it. Here's another secret. Don't believe everything you think. How can you tell if your mind is telling you the truth? By asking. When you take your upsets with a grain of salt and don't buy into the underlying premise, it's truly amazing how a wave of emotion magically evaporates. The first happiness habit for the mind is question your thoughts. I'm going to show you a process of self-inquiry called the work. It was developed by a woman named Byron Katie. Everyone calls her Katie. The work consists of asking yourself 4 simple questions about your self-limiting thoughts or beliefs, and then you apply a turnaround statement, a sentence expressing the reverse of your thought or belief. Before I demonstrate the technique, I want to tell you a little about Katie and how she discovered the technique. It was a result of her own life transformation. She went from being unhappy and depressed to experiencing a moment of grace, which left her in a permanent state of bliss and peace. Before her transformation, Katie, a mother of 3 and self-employed businesswoman, described herself as completely depressed, suicidal, and stuck in total pain and self-loathing. Sometimes she couldn't get out of bed for days, sometimes weeks, to bathe or brush her teeth. Eventually, her self-esteem became so low that she didn't feel she deserved to sleep in a bed and began sleeping on the floor. One morning, she woke up on the floor when something crawled across her ankle. She opened her eyes and saw a cockroach, and in that exact same moment, something awakened in her. She realized that all her suffering came from her thoughts about her situation. My life is horrible. I don't deserve happiness. Not from the situation itself. She began to laugh. It suddenly seemed so clear when she believed her thoughts. She suffered, and when she didn't, she was happy. And she saw that it was the same for everybody. All suffering comes from believing our thoughts. She developed a process for questioning her thoughts. She found when you get in the habit of questioning your thoughts, you will find that you don't have to try to control your mind or push out your painful thoughts. With time, they simply lose their power to upset you. Your mind will become peaceful, strong, and expanded, which automatically raises your happiness set point. The process that she teaches is called the work. It involves a simple worksheet that is in your packet. The very first step is to write down a belief or a judgment that you have. Think about an argument or a disagreement. For example, my boss shouldn't be so critical of me. Or about yourself, I should be able to be better at my work. Take a moment to write down that limiting belief. Now what we're going to do is ask 4 simple questions about that. The first question, is it true? Is it true that my boss is too critical of me? You can answer yes or no. The next question is, can you absolutely know that it's true? In other words, can you really know what is best in the long run for your path or another person's path. The third question is, how do you react when you believe that thought? What happens? How do you treat yourself and others when you believe that thought? Do you shut down? Get really angry? Are you sad or disappointed? Do you feel contracted? The fourth question is, who would you be without that thought? In other words, how would you live your life differently if you didn't believe that thought? For example, who would you be if your boss wasn't so critical? Who would you be without that thought? You would probably be more relaxed and calm. You might be more empowered. Here's the kicker. What is the turnaround of that thought? In other words, what may be an opposite of the thought? My boss shouldn't be so critical. The turnaround might be, my boss should be critical of me because it's helping me see something in myself. Or I shouldn't be so critical of me. So write down a couple of turnaround statements. For each statement, find 3 genuine examples of how the turnaround is true in your life. I want you to know this is not about blaming yourself or feeling guilty. It's not about blaming other people. It's really about discovering alternatives that can bring you peace. When we do this simple process called the work, we free ourselves from the effects of believing stressful thoughts. Thoughts like, I'm not good enough, he should treat me differently, or he doesn't understand me. We are turning our stress, frustration, and anger into a freedom that we never dreamed possible. When you get into the habit of questioning your thoughts, you will find that you don't have to try to control your mind or push out your painful thoughts. Eventually, they simply lose the power to upset you. If you want more information on using the work, you can go to www.thework.com. You will find great resources there. In fact, there's even a phone number there that you can call and have somebody walk you through this process. I highly recommend checking it out. I want to end with a couple of quotes by Cathy. First, a thought is harmless unless we believe it. It's not our thoughts, but our attachment to our thoughts that causes suffering. Attaching to a thought means believing it is true without inquiring. Here's one more. To question what you believe is an amazing gift to give yourself, and you can have it all the days of your life. The answers are inside of you, just waiting to be heard. Now go forth and conquer. Thank you.